Okay everyone, welcome to the bottom line. This is the fire sale video version. Well, we're a couple weeks into the season. As you can see by my eyes here, no sleep. I'm up to like 4 in the morning every night trying to make terrible fantasy trades as usual. But let's get into things this week. You know, it's hard to believe we're going into week 3. I'm going to take a look at a couple of people going up, a couple of people going down, some sneaky starts, and then I'm going to smash Tony Romo. Going up this week, Dexter McCluster in Kansas City. There really isn't a lot to like about the Chiefs, especially their head coach, Todd Haley, who's an absolute jerk. I mean, this guy's going to be fired, if not by the end of this year, by the end of next season. You can guarantee it. He got lucky last year. He played in a terrible division, but the chickens are coming home to roost on him. I mean, that guy can't coach. Now Jamal Charles is out for the year. Tony Moiaki's out for the year because he left him in a preseason game. Matt Casale is lost. Dwayne Bowe has like 6 guys on him every game. So the reason I like McCluster over Thomas Jones is this. First of all, I think Thomas Jones is all done. I don't see much juice left in his legs. But the other thing about Jones is he's built for when the Chiefs have the lead. Now let me ask you, how often do you think the Chiefs are going to have the lead this year? Not often, especially this week against San Diego. So McCluster, while he's small, he's going to be in the game a lot when they're down, catching passes, because I really like this kid. I mean, I loved him at Ole Miss. I knew his size. I wasn't sure where he was going to fit in the NFL. But if you're looking for a guy on the waiver wire that has a chance to come out and be a big-time fantasy player for you, I really like Dexter McCluster. I hate the Chiefs, but I think McCluster is the guy to own there because I think he's going to have a good fantasy season with Charles out. Another guy going up, Roy Halou Jr. Well, thanks, Mike Shanahan. You gave us 1 week of Tim Hightower being the feature back in Washington, and while Hightower's still the guy there, he's still the guy you want to own. Halou got 10 carries last week. He caught 3 passes. But here's the thing that's scary if you're a Hightower owner. Halou looked better than Hightower. And while I'm a Tim Hightower fan, I've always been. I liked him when he was at Richmond. I liked him when he was with the Cardinals. I thought he was underused. The problem is that Halou has more physical ability. He has more natural talent, and he really fits well into that Redskins offense. And another thing that made me a little nervous about Hightower last week, they said he got tired. What does that mean? Why is he getting tired? He only got 20 carries. It's not like they ran him 40 times. So right now, Hightower, yes, he can still start him. I mean, he's got a tough matchup this week with the Cowboys, who have stopped the run well the first 2 weeks. But as the year goes on, you can see the headache building in Washington. Personally, if I had Hightower, I would try to trade him right now if you had any takers. Because as the season goes on, you're going to get more and more of Halou. And it might end up being a 50-50 split, or Halou could end up being the back there. But I think Tim Hightower, as the season goes on, his production is going to go down a little bit. Still a good start right now, but in a month from now, Halou could be your man there. And then finally going up is my boy. I created him. I'm getting emails about him all week thanking me. Eric Decker of the Broncos. You know I was on him the second they drafted him last year, if you follow the fire sale. The kid was an absolute stud at Minnesota. For a terrible offense, nobody in the Big Ten could guard him. Now, I actually had him as a sleeper last year, which didn't really work out all that well. He caught like 8 passes, and most of them were in the final 2 games. But I was surprised this season that there weren't more fantasy people on Decker, because he was built to succeed in Denver if you take a look at what happened. You know, Demaryius Thomas is hurt. He's out for at least half the season. Then the big key for me was Jabbar Gaffney being traded away, because Decker and Gaffney have similar skill sets. And once they traded Gaffney away, knowing that Thomas wasn't going to be around this season for at least the first 8 games, that told me they had confidence in Decker. And even though Brandon Lloyd's coming back, Decker might not catch 100 yards worth of passes every week, but this guy, he's legit. Eric Decker is a fantasy football player. He's legit. He should be on your team. He's owned in like 60% of leagues. I mean, that should be about 90%. You're talking about the number 2 receiver clearly on the Broncos. I mean, as I said this summer, the only guy he has to be out is Eddie Royal. You know, I like my chances. Eddie Royal is a bit player. He's a slot receiver. I don't think he brings much to the table. So Eric Decker, if you're not buying the hype, you should start buying the hype. I've seen some fantasy sites that said, when Brandon Lloyd comes back, this or that. Eric Decker is legit. He's legit. And as long as Kyle Orton's under center in Denver, he's going to put up solid fantasy numbers for you. Now let's look at a couple people going down. And as a lot of you know, I base a ton of what I write on coaching. Okay, it's a big part of my analysis. And there isn't a bigger jerk out there than the Dolphins' Tony Sparano. I mean, he is not only, in my opinion, pound for pound, the worst coach in the NFL right now. He's one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. Let's go back to week 1 here. Okay, we have Sparano. They're playing the Patriots, and here's this new-look offense. I mean, the Dolphins looked phenomenal. Chad Henne needs to throw the ball downfield. He has a big arm. That's what he's most comfortable at. They've had him throwing 2-yard passes the last couple of years. So I couldn't be more impressed with the Dolphins offense. I mean, I know they lost the game, but spreading the ball out, throwing it around, using Reggie Bush. And then week 2, Reggie Bush disappears. And Daniel Thomas gets all the carries. They're down 16-3. They're using 2 tight ends. They're pounding the ball up the middle. What happened to the offense? Where'd it go? I mean, I don't mind you giving Daniel Thomas some touches. That's fine. I mean, you let him run between the tackles. But where's Bush on those pass plays? Where's the wide open sets, the formations? What happened to him? I mean, this guy is an absolute jerk. And I love the way he got mad at the media after the game. You got a little testy with him. Like, hey, it's not their fault that you can't coach, buddy. I mean, you stink. Now, you're 0-2. You're guaranteed pretty much to finish last in that division, in my opinion. And you're going to be fired at the end of the year. And then people are going to feel sorry for him like he's some kind of coach. The guy can't coach. So I don't know what's going on with Reggie Bush. I don't know what's going on with Daniel Thomas. If you have one of them and you want to start him, God bless you. Who knows what Sparano's going to do week to week. If you want to try to get inside that head, go ahead, but I can't do it. Now another guy, Percy Harvin, is going down. Now, Leslie Frazier, listen. When you're a new coach and you haven't coached before and I haven't followed you through college and all that stuff, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. But when your first order of business is to come to Minnesota and not use Percy Harvin, you're not off to a very good start with me, I can tell you that. I mean, you want to get Bernard Berrien and Malcolm Jenkins time on the field? That's a joke. Neither of those guys can play. So you would think, okay, after 2 weeks of not using Harvin, maybe he would come out and say, well, we made a mistake, we got to get the ball in his hands. No, he comes out and says, we're using him the right way. All right, the bottom line is you're 0-2 and your offense stinks. So it is what it is. What you're doing isn't working. And Harvin is your second best offensive player, and he's your most dynamic offensive player. So to come in there and not give Percy Harvin the ball is an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. And I'm sick and tired of all these coaches with the we got to limit his touches bullcrap. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars to play football, and you're getting paid good money to win football games. You do what you need to do to win. You think Bill Belichick cares about how many touches Deion Branch gets or how many touches Ben Jarvis Green Ellis gets or Danny Woodhead? He's trying to win football games that week or the week after. Okay, so I'm just sick and tired of all the, we got to limit this guy's touches, we got to limit that guy's touches so we can bring in some stiff on the field. No, you get your best players to football. So Leslie Frazier, the Vikings coaching staff, has been absolutely terrible after 2 weeks. And I would love an explanation on why Harvin didn't get in the football. Because if you own Harvin, you deserve an explanation. Vikings fans deserve an explanation, and this team's got 4-12 written all over it with Leslie Frazier as the head coach. All right, now let's take a look at some sneaky starts for the upcoming week. You know, the sneaky starts as the year goes on, they're more important. You know, now it's early in the season. There's not a lot of bye weeks. But a couple of guys I like that might be flying under the radar. One, Mike Thomas, Jacksonville wide receiver. I mean, look at that Carolina secondary, and they're awful. And I know a lot of people are taking Thomas out of the lineup because Blaine Gabbert has been named the starter. But he's got to throw the ball to somebody. And if you're in a PPR league, Thomas is going to catch a lot of those short passes. So if you are looking for a receiver, maybe to get you 12 to 15 points out of the flex this week, I like Mike Thomas in Jacksonville. Another guy that's had 2 very good weeks, and I think could be 3 for 3, is Devery Henderson in New Orleans. You know, he's playing more with Colston out. That doesn't mean he's going to catch a ton of passes. Devery Henderson isn't a reception monster. He's not going to catch you 10 balls, but he will provide you the big play. And I'm not sold on this Houston secondary yet. I mean, they played the Colts and the Dolphins, 2 terrible offenses so far. I think they're in for a rude awakening this week. I like Devery Henderson to find the end zone for the 3rd straight game. I think he makes a nice flex play, wide receiver 3 for you this week. And then finally, the Arizona defense. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They're playing Seattle. If you got a defense playing Seattle, forget about what the name is. Just plug them in. I mean, you talk about an absolute disaster. What's going on in Seattle? Maybe Pete Carroll can have all the players take their shoes and socks off and sing Kumbaya by the fire. I don't know, but whatever's going on there is not good. I mean, to sign Tavares Jackson and just name him the starter, Charlie Whitehurst better really, really be bad, because that offense is an absolute joke that has no fantasy value whatsoever. I mean, I looked at Marshawn Lynch. I had him going down in the fire sale this week. I was shocked he had 44 yards in 2 games. I don't know how he got 44 yards. So if you're starting a defense against that Seattle offense, you can expect a good week. Get Arizona's defense in your starting lineup. Now for my final word. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people say Tony Romo silenced his critics this week. That's an absolute joke, okay? I have been a Cowboys fan since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I've also been a Tony Romo supporter for many years. But after he threw that interception to Darrelle Revis in the first game of the season, I can no longer do it. When the game is big, when the situation calls for a guy who's got some, let's say, balls, some gumption, Tony Romo folds. Now you say, well, it was week 1. How could it be a big game? Listen, it was 9/11. It was New York. The Jets are a Super Bowl favorite on paper. The Cowboys wanted to come out and make a statement. We all know that was the biggest game of the week. All right. Now he comes to San Francisco. Listen, I've never questioned Tony Romo's toughness. I've never questioned Tony Romo's heart. He's played behind that terrible offensive line in Dallas for the last few years. That has nothing to do with anything. That's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is he's a choker in big games. That wasn't a big game. He was playing a 4-12 team. Those receivers were wide open. Wide open. I mean, Matt Hasselbeck could have hit those receivers. I mean, I'll tip my hat to him for playing with a punctured lung, sure, but that doesn't surprise me with Romo, and neither does leading a comeback against a bad team. He's done that in the past against the Lions, against bad Redskins teams. I've seen this before. What happens is when the game gets bigger, he chokes. I mean, that's it. End of story. And these writers, these jock sniffers out there telling us that he silenced his critics. What critics? He didn't silence anybody, and they know that he didn't. What writers do, I know, I've talked to them, they like to keep a story going. So first Romo's a choker, now he's a hero. They're just setting it up for the next time he chokes so they can say, oh, Tony Romo's a choker again. So, hey, listen, I love the Cowboys. I'd love to be wrong, but that guy can't play in big games. And a Week 2 win over San Francisco means nothing to me. Look at it this way. If Tom Brady struggled against the Chargers, would we call him and say he's not a winner? Say he's a choker? Of course we wouldn't. It's a Week 2 game against the Chargers. So I don't want to hear this crap that Tony Romo silenced his critics. He'll silence me when he gets into a big game and makes the plays that need to be made and doesn't throw the ball directly to Darrelle Revis. Then I'll shut up. So that's it for this week's version of The Bottom Line. If you want to follow me, you can send me an email at tcasale@mail.com. If you want some average fantasy advice, you can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Thomas Casale. I think that's the address. I mean, who cares? Do you really want to follow me? But next week we'll be back. Good luck this week. I'm 0-2 in my league. I got to do something. I mean, it's getting ugly. It's not good. So I'll see you next week on The Bottom Line.